Hey guys, Penny here from Monaco Nail Academy, and over the next few minutes I'm going to be showing you how to look after your beautiful acrylic brushes. I'll be working with the brand new black crystal brush from Artistic Nail Design, which I've just used and reviewed for the first time last week. A really nice acrylic brush is an investment. They're not cheap, but you get what you pay for, and a really nice acrylic brush can actually last you for years and years and years, sometimes your entire career. I do know of nail techs that still have their very first brushes 10, 15, 20 years into their career. I do not. I put my first brush, ran it into the ground, did not understand exactly how bad the brush was until I invested in a new one. I thought, oh, you're alright, even though I think that was $75, but I've paid up towards $200 for brushes since. So I thought, oh, $75, I don't know. And then I eventually replaced it, and holy moly, I became an infinitely better nail tech just the very next day, just for having a better brush. I think, of course, it takes a lot of skill and knowledge and practice to become a good nail tech, but good tools, you just can't beat them, and they make such a difference. So the first one that I replaced it with was the pink entity brush, which I still love, and mine actually got stolen from an art class at an expo a couple of years after I got it, but luckily I managed to replace it with the original Artistic crystal brush, which I still have. This has been my number one brush until last week. So I still have this one. This is the third ever brush that I owned, and it's still going strong. Maybe 4 or 5 years later, still my daily brush, and I still love it. But new toys always sing. So if you want to invest in a lovely new brush, but you want the investment to be worth it, this is what I would do to look after a brush. First things first, you need to really master your ratios. So your ratio of liquid to powder. Even if you buy a cheap brush with which to get good at your ratios and then you graduate to your investment brush, do that, that's fine, but working with the correct ratio of liquid to powder is going to make it much easier to look after your brush, never mind much easier to just do a set of nails. A bead that is too wet will leave residue in the brush, and that residue won't just be liquid, there will be particles of powder in it. It's essentially an extremely runny bead, but it's still trying to polymerize, and so although it doesn't turn into a solid unless you're really unlucky, then you're going to still just get it's trying to solidify in the brush. A bead that is too dry, the dry powder grains will stay on the bristles, and then any liquid that is still in the brush, same thing. You're just essentially making a really crappy bead kind of inside the brush. It's going to harden, it probably won't go totally solid, but it's going to clump up the bristles and it's going to be really hard to get out. A perfect bead will go creamy within about 3 seconds and then will release completely cleanly from the brush onto the nail. There'll be no residue left behind, there'll be no grainy surface on the bead once you put it down, and if you watched it long enough it would hold quite a bit of shape, it wouldn't pancake. The other thing to watch is your monomer. If your monomer stays nice and clear like this, and yes, I know it's purple, I don't mean clear like no color, I mean clear like you can see through it. If it stays nice and clear like this, you're good to go, that's fine. That means there's not a great number of powder particles in there causing trouble. You want it to be nice and clean. The second that this starts to go milky or hazy or just isn't that nice crisp clear color it started as, change it. You're going to do so by taking enough nail wipes that they will soak up the liquid without A, wasting nail wipes, but more importantly B, soaking all the way through. I don't want your skin coming into contact with the monomer. So fold up the nail wipes, soak up that excess product that has changed color, and then put it into a bin which you can close the lid on until you can take that rubbish outside. We don't want that much liquid just sitting on the table or in an open bin, creating vapors in the air around you. We want nice clean air for you to breathe while you work. Clean your brush constantly. Before you go into the monomer, wipe it, then dip and do what you need to do. Pick up the bead, place it down. While it is settling, while you're waiting for it to start polymerizing, wipe off your brush. You can use this time to reshape it a bit as well so that it's nice for you to work with, but wipe off the brush. If you need to dampen your brush for shaping while you're working with it, wipe it, then dampen it and clean the brush. Even just wipe it off again before you go and do what you need to do. Keep your brush wipe as clean as possible. Never wipe over an area where you've already wiped before. So all I've got left is this little spot here. It's not enough. I'm going to change my nail wipe. The discarded one goes straight into a bin with a lid, again to control the vapors in your room. You can get larger brush wipes, which are like a nail wipe but 4 to 6 times bigger that you can wipe on. What I don't recommend using is a paper towel. Not only will you get the little towel fibers in your brush and therefore in your nails, but they tend to exaggerate the odor in a way. I think some nail wipes almost hold on to it just very slightly. Don't know, making that up, not science. But the paper towels really tend to, like, the monomer spreads on them rather than staying where you wiped, and maybe that's what makes it happen. But I swear, if I have to work with a paper towel for any reason, the odor is so much stronger than if I'm working with a nail wipe. So keep the nail wipe nice and clean and only wipe onto clean areas of the wipe, and discard, get rid of any wipe that you've got no room left on. When you finish working with your brush for that set, put it away immediately, but clean it immediately as well. Your client won't mind waiting a couple of seconds while you do so. If you don't confidently believe that your monomer is clean, then get rid of it, soak it up safely like I taught you before, and then get clean monomer and just clean your brush. Monomer is the best thing to clean a brush with. If you are using brush cleaner, it depends what it's made of. I personally don't believe in brush cleaners. I'm yet to see one that I think is a good idea and doesn't actually just dry out the brush. Brush cleaner should be more for you made a massive mistake and didn't clean your brush properly and now you've got to try and save it. You don't need a brush cleaner after every client, you just need clean monomer, which isn't a solvent, doesn't evaporate the way that a solvent like isopropyl alcohol or acetone does evaporate. So it's going to look after your brush and not dry it out as much. I don't think that an acrylic brush should ever touch iso or acetone or any of those harsh solvents. My original crystal brush has never touched one of those things, but then in the training studio when we've got students just learning, absolutely we've had some disasters that we've had to clean out before. If you have to clean your brush, like if you didn't realize and there's a clump of product and it has hardened in it or something like that, a disaster. Wrap your brush up just like a gel nail. Put some remover on it, what you would use to soak off a full set of acrylics. I've not put any on this one because I don't want to ruin my brush, but put some remover onto a normal foil that you would use for doing a soak off, wrap up your brush and then set a timer for 5 minutes. Just check on it after 5 minutes, try and work the product out, run it through some clean monomer again, just like I showed you before. If you have to wrap it up again, do it for maybe 2 minutes at a time, but realistically, if it's wrapped up in acetone for more than 7 or 8 minutes, it's not going to be the same brush again. Even that very first soak, that 5-minute soak, it's not going to be as nice of a brush pretty much ever again. So the goal is absolutely to avoid having to clean the brush with a strong, harsh solvent in the first place, and just using clean monomer after every client. Lastly, keeping the lid on will actually keep your brush in better condition, stopping the bristles from completely drying out all the time. I've found, and again, no science behind it, but I have personally found that spinning my brush as I put it into the lid stops it from getting those sticky out splayed bristles. I never have an issue if I remember to spin my brush. If I just sort of chuck it in the lid, then you run the risk of getting little stray bristles that you're going to have to cut off. So there you have it. Which one of those tips do you think was the red flag that you're going to have to work on the most? You've got the ratio, too wet of a bead, too dry of a bead, keeping your monomer clean while you work, keeping your nail wipe clean while you work, cleaning your brush in clean monomer after every client, and avoiding contact with solvents if at all possible. If you learned something from this video, or if you didn't and it was just a nice reminder, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so that you can see all of the videos that we put out. We absolutely take requests, so you can tag me at Monaco Nail Academy on Instagram or Facebook if you see artwork or even a technique that you would like to see that you're not sure how to do. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.